government's Green Paper on the Natural Resource Fund outlines a number of mechanisms that will ensure the proper management of the revenues obtained from petroleum and other natural resources. Among these measures is the establishment of a Sovereign Investment Committee. The committee, along with the Minister of Finance, the Bank of Guyana, and private managers, will hold responsibility of managing the Natural Resource Fund. In this InfoHub Extended, Stacey Carmichael examines the composition of the committee, its responsibilities, and that of other players.
The future of Guyana has never looked better. Our nation is on the cusp of a development program like never seen before. While Guyana is now emerging as an energy giant through the discovery of massive reserves of oil and natural gas, it is your government's intention that the huge benefits emerging from this will go where it matters most, to you, the people of this beloved country. There is a surge of confidence in the way Guyana is governed once again, and the level of investor interest is unprecedented. Guyana is poised to become the breadbasket of the region, and the pace at which this nation will grow through prudent fiscal management will be nothing short of impressive. But more than anything else will be the way every Guyanese, regardless of color, class, or creed, becomes a part of this historic period of national transformation, sharing in the wealth and well-being of it all as one Guyana.
The Green Paper proposes the establishment of the Sovereign Investment Committee to advise Minister of Finance Winston Jordan on the investment mandate as it relates to the management of the Natural Resource Fund, NRF. The committee will comprise 7 members appointed by Minister Jordan. Among the members, a representative of the Finance Minister, an ex officio representative nominated by the Governor of the Bank of Guyana, an ex officio representative nominated by the Minister of Natural Resources, a representative nominated by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Guyana, a representative nominated by the opposition leader, a senior investment advisor and analyst, a representative nominated by the Guyana Association of Bankers. Committee members would be persons with substantial experience, training, and expertise in financial investments and financial portfolio management. A minimum of a postgraduate degree from a reputable university in the fields of finance or economics or an equivalent professional qualification is required. The senior investment advisor and analyst would also be recruited via international open tender. The person would be responsible for assisting Minister Jordan in drafting the investment mandate, as well as report and monitor the financial performance of the NRF, among other duties as determined by the Minister of Finance and the Sovereign Investment Committee. According to the Green Paper, the National Assembly would be responsible for passing the NRF Act, approving the annual national budget, which would include the annual withdrawal from the NRF, and reviewing the annual report.
The Bank of Guyana would be the operational manager of the fund and is required to manage it in accordance with the operational agreement and the investment mandate. Quarterly reports and annual accounts and procurement of private managers, draft management agreements, and investment instructions will also fall under the bank's remit.
The private managers would manage the overall investment portfolio in accordance with the management agreement and investment instructions and submit reports to the Bank of Guyana. Notwithstanding the investments through the national budget, the fund, in order to become sustainable and achieve all of its objectives, must also utilize overseas financial investments. The overseas assets investments would serve to ensure a long-term, stable source of income, which would allow for the fund to meet its stabilization and intergenerational savings objectives. Minister of Finance Winston Jordan.
A portion of revenues will be invested in safe and liquid assets external to the domestic economy. Mr. Speaker, the second key function of our sovereign wealth fund is savings, to ensure the equitable distribution of benefits of the extraction of non-renewable resources across current and future generations. This will allow for the transformation of a depleting asset base, that is oil, to a permanent asset base, that is financial assets. This also allows for public spending during resource extraction to be maintained or increased long after extraction has ended. Given the uncertainty surrounding the future of fossil fuels, it is necessary for savings to begin from day one of production. To achieve this function, revenues will be invested in diversified portfolio comprised of financial assets external to the domestic economy with long investment horizons and higher expected returns.
The Green Paper proposes that safe investments would be mandatory, such that the first US $500 million and at least 3 times that expected annual withdrawal would be invested in very safe investments in the form of eligible bank deposits and treasury bills. This will ensure that the NRF meets short-term stabilization and cash management objectives.
Reporting and auditing requirements of the NRF would be extensive. The Green Paper states that this task will lie with the Ministry of Finance, which would lay an annual report in the Parliament each fiscal year and provide further reporting throughout the annual budget process. Reporting and audit requirements would ensure that all petroleum revenues are accounted for.
Minister Jordan explained that the NRF will be managed in accordance with the Santiago Principles to ensure good governance and transparency. The Santiago Principles consist of 24 generally accepted principles and practices voluntarily endorsed by the members of the International Forum of Sovereign Wealth Funds. The principles promote transparency, good governance, accountability, prudent investment practices, encourages open dialogue and deeper understanding of sovereign wealth fund activities. The Natural Resource Fund would operate in a transparent manner and fully conform to the Santiago Principles.
The Green Paper acknowledges the urgent need for strengthened institutions and systems to support strong governance and oversight. Investing in human capital and increasing national capacity to effectively observe resources must be paramount.
We must save for current and future generations, but this has to be balanced with the need to invest to overcome the human and physical and technological capital constraint that restricts Guyana from realizing her full growth potential. For example, there are significant infrastructure gaps that exist, especially with respect to connecting the coast and the hinterland, and these need to be addressed. But we must also be cognizant of the capacity of the domestic economy to absorb significant increases in expenditure, as well as the capacity of the public service to effectively and efficiently implement expanded programs and deliver quality services.
The Green Paper also recommends that the government maximizes the capacity of every Guyanese while taking preemptive actions to avoid the pre-source curse.
To do this, we must manage injections to domestic spending. And when we do invest, we must ensure that these investments are catalytic and promote economic diversification so that we realize an economy that is strong and resilient, that can stand on its own long after oil has been depleted. Within the principles of good financial management, these investments will be guided by the National Development Plan, our Green State Development Strategy, and executed via the national budget, as occurs in countries that have been successful in harnessing effectively natural resource revenue for development, such as Norway and Botswana. Mr. Speaker, the fiscal rule options that allow for these 3 objectives to be met emerged after considering many other fiscal rules that were implemented with varying degrees of effectiveness. The proposed options have benefited from sensitivity analysis testing across various factors, including prices and production. We are confident that the fiscal rule that is eventually decided upon will serve the needs of current and future generations. It will hold the promise to be a model for other countries to emulate, especially given its potential to achieve the many goals already mentioned, a feat that only few countries have achieved.
The pre-source curse has become a recognized condition and is characterized by elevated expectations, which can lead to below-standard results.
The government recognizes that while the Natural Resource Fund represents a step along the continuum of legislative reforms that must be in place to support the petroleum sector, legislation alone will not enable good governance of revenues. As such, rigorous project appraisal systems and prioritization will be necessary, along with improved technical competencies across sectors to ensure the required pace and quality of innovations to achieve a diversified green economy. This brings us to the end of another edition of InfoHub Extended. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Why when I drink a nice guy, I get smoking on? Hey barman, y'all don't sell cigarettes anymore?
The new tobacco law says we can't have cigarettes on public display and we can't advertise that we sell it.
Okay, give me a pack.
You can't do that in here, buddy. The law states that you can't smoke in an enclosed area. You have to go outside.
I think that's how they do it in foreign. So, the last time he comes again. I'm glad though.
Let's all work together to prevent cigarette smoking related illnesses.
Roundabouts. Approaching a roundabout. When you approach a roundabout, you must use your indicator if you intend to turn left or right or make a U-turn at the roundabout. You must give other road users sufficient notice of your intent to turn. Entering a roundabout. When entering a roundabout, you must slow or stop to give way to any vehicle already in the roundabout. You must also continue to use your indicators if you intend to turn left or right or make a U-turn. Turning left. When turning left, you must indicate left on approach and be travelling in the left-hand lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Stay in the left lane and exit in the left lane. Turning right. When turning right, you must indicate right on approach and be travelling in the right-hand lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Making a U-turn. When using a roundabout to make a U-turn, you must approach in the right lane and signal right. Changing lanes in a roundabout. Drivers may change lanes in a roundabout if they wish. The usual road rules for changing lanes apply. You must use your indicator and give way to any vehicle in the lane you are entering. Going straight ahead. You don't need to signal when approaching the roundabout if you are going straight ahead. You may approach the roundabout from either the left or right lane unless there are road markings with other instructions. Exiting a roundabout. As when you exit a road, you must signal left when leaving a roundabout, if it is practical to do so, and you should stop indicating as soon as you have exited the roundabout. However, when you are travelling straight ahead on a small single-lane roundabout, it may be impractical to indicate when exiting.